All set, Derek?
Yes, we're all set.
Good evening and welcome to the June 22nd, 2020 meeting of the Goffstown Select Board. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Will you please join me in the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, it's good to be here in person for first time in a long time, to see some faces and have people in attendance instead of talking to machines and not knowing who you're talking to and not being able to make eye-to-eye contact with the folks. So it's really good to see people here. Thank you all for being here tonight. It makes a big difference. It's been quite a struggle. We appreciate people's patience as we work through this with our virtual meetings. I learned more about Zoom and GoToMeeting and WebEx than I ever wanted to know, but it seems like that's life now, that every day I'm getting one or two Zoom meetings in. So it's been a trial. Again, I appreciate everybody's patience. It seems to have worked fairly well once we got through some of the bugs initially. So again, thank you for your patience and cooperation in getting through this difficult time. We still got a ways to go, but at least now we can meet face to face. So at first I'm going to read the notice relative to the meeting. This is the Safer at Home meeting announcement. Effective June 16th, 2020, Governor Sununu issued emergency order number 52, which ended the state of New Hampshire's stay-at-home order and changed to a Safer at Home advisory. As chairman of the Goffstown Select Board, in accordance with the Safer at Home advisory, the governor's state of emergency, and related emergency orders, I am conducting this meeting of the Goffstown Select Board in person, practicing appropriate social distancing consistent with the state and national public health guidelines. The Goffstown Select Board continues to provide public access to the meeting by telephone, with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. For those members of the public that are staying in their homes or places of residences, public participation continues to be available by telephone. The public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following telephone number, area code 603-766-5646, and using the participation code 785-645, followed by the pound sign. If anyone has a problem with telephone access, please call 603-384-3624, and we'll be glad to provide assistance. For the benefit of those members of the public that may be listening to the meeting by telephone, all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. So we'll begin by taking a roll call for attendance. Chairman Collis Adams.
Kelly Boyer.
Peter Georgiantis.
Mark Lemay.
Thank you. Selectman Chet Bowen couldn't be with us tonight. He has a personal matter he's tending to. He sends his best wishes, but and regrets that he can't be here. So there'll just be 4 voting members tonight. Next order of business is a proclamation. A proclamation to read. Happy to read. It's a proclamation from the town of Goffstown. Whereas a proclamation is a means whereby the town of Goffstown may honor the dedication of those individuals who serve the town, and whereas Douglas A. McKernan, a.k.a. Doug, was born and raised in Goffstown and graduated from Goffstown High School in 1970. And whereas during Doug's student-teacher year in 1974, he was asked to step in and help lead the Goffstown High School band. He was then offered the position of band director for the Goffstown Junior-Senior High School that fall and has served in this capacity for the Goffstown School District since that time, providing enjoyment to the town with nearly 5 decades of Halloween and Memorial Day parades. And whereas during Doug's tenure, the school's offerings expanded from concert and stage bands to a full-fledged performing arts program including band, chorus, jazz band, select chorus, string orchestra, select strings, musical theater, dance classes, and a dance production company, and a full suite of music electives to rival many New Hampshire high school programs of comparable size. And whereas Doug will officially retire on July 1st, 2020, after 46 years of faithful service and upon the 50th anniversary of his own graduation from Goffstown High School. Very impressive.
Yep.
Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Goffstown Select Board, County of Hillsborough, State of New Hampshire, by virtue of the authority vested in us, recognize Douglas A. McKernan for his very long employment with the Goffstown School District and wish him the best in his retirement years. We, the Goffstown Select Board of the Town of Goffstown, County of Hillsborough, State of New Hampshire, by virtue of the authority vested in us, do hereby proclaim July 1st, 2020 be designated as Doug McKernan Day throughout the Town of Goffstown, New Hampshire, and urge all of the citizenry of the Town of Goffstown to recognize that day as such. Given under our hands and seals this 22nd day of June in the year of our Lord, 2020, by the Goffstown Select Board, and is signed by all 5 members of the Goffstown Select Board, as well as the town clerk. Doug, come on up. Thank you, sir.
Thank you
For your
very much.
dedicated service. Thank you once again, Doug. That's very impressive and a wonderful, wonderful service you've provided for many, many decades to this great town. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I was in the band with him. Way back.
Yeah, is that right?
Yeah.
Next item on the agenda is the acceptance and correction of the minutes from June 8th, 2020. They're public and non-public minutes.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes of 6/8/2020, public and non-public.
Thank you. Motion made by Peter.
Second.
Seconded by Mark. Any discussion on that motion? I think we have to do all these by roll call. I vote yes. We'll just go around.
Yes.
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 So motion passes 4-0-0. Are there any announcements? I have one.
A public comment.
Yeah. So I'd like to read the following, which I received from Dave French. And it reads, it was to Rick Wilhelmy and the Parks and Rec Commissioners. It says, "Dear Rick, Aaron, and Commissioners, on behalf of myself and my family, I want to thank all of you for your continued support in continuing the legacy of the Gallop, the Goffstown Gallop. I know that you know how much this event has meant to me on a personal level. The honor of having this event named after me is so very humbling and meaningful. I want to thank Rick and Aaron on their efforts in what has been a truly a very different year for all of us. The Gallop has always brought back runners year after year from all over. They enjoy seeing old friends and sharing those friendships. This year's event will obviously be different, but I know people from as far away as Florida, Georgia, and Arizona plan on running the 5.2 miles. This year, to mark my 70th birthday, no comments please, he says, Barbara, his wife, and I will be walking the course. Heather will be doing her run in Florida, but Steve will be coming home to run the actual course. Former Londonderry star athlete Mike Beeman, who won this event in the mid-1980s, will be participating from Georgia. Thank you to all of you for your continued good works for our community and continued success in support of our Parks and Recreation Department and staff. Sincerely, David, Barbara, Heather, and Steve French." This is very nice memo from Dave. Good work, Rick and your folks. Thank you. Are there any other announcements folks want to share at this time? Thank you. It's 6:10, so it's now an opportunity for public comment. Is there anyone here who would like to make a comment at this time? Anyone on the phones there?
There's no one on the telephone either.
Seeing none, we'll move along. Next is the Town Administrator's Report. Derek?
Thank you. At tab 6, you have your committee meeting schedule for the next 3 weeks. On Wednesday, HDC will be meeting at 6:30 PM. It looks like that meeting will be over at Grassmere Town Hall.
Okay, got it.
Thursday at 7 PM, the Planning Board.
Yes.
Next week, on Wednesday at 6:30 PM is EDC. That's normally handled by Selectman Bowen. If there's any change, I'll reach out to see if anyone else is available. And then, just a reminder that Town Hall is closed on Friday, July 3rd, in observance of Independence Day. And then on Thursday, July 9th, the Planning Board will be meeting at 7 PM.
Good. I'm good.
There-
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I see the meeting for June 22nd, and then we have no two meetings for the next 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay,
Normally, the board is scheduled for the second and fourth Monday of each month. So we've got a fifth Monday coming up next week, and then you have the first Monday in July. So that's where your next meeting is scheduled for July 13th.
thank you.
So Derek and Kelly, I'll be away the week of July 6th, so Kelly, if you could just,
Will you be back by the 13th?
yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Next page is your consent agenda. Under employee status reports, we have an AEMT step increase. Call AEMT step increase, another AEMT step increase. And you have a firefighter 2 AEMT step increase, a firefighter 1 AEMT step increase, firefighter 2/paramedic step increase, DPW solid waste attendant, labor solid waste attendant. This is the reorg and open position that was approved at your last meeting. You have 2 new hires for 2 DPW laborers and also a DPW truck driver resignation. You have the sidebar agreement between the Professional Firefighters of Goffstown, Local 3420 International Association of Firefighters in the Town of Goffstown. This is to implement 24/7 long-term schedule. You have right to inter on West Lawn Expansion, Section 5, Lot 228. Also West Lawn Expansion, Section 1, Lot 28. You had Mr. McKernan's proclamation this evening. You have the July 1st, 2020 wage rates increases for all departments. These will be effective July 1st. You have a junkyard operator license renewal for Hebert's Junkyard. And then you have event permits for the Rotary Club Car Show on September 19th, 2020 from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Parsons Field at the corner of Parsons Drive and North Mass. And then you have the Dartmouth Hitchcock Health Chad, New Hampshire East-West All-Star Football Game on August 1st, 2020 from 4 to 8 p.m. at St. Anselm College.
I have a question.
Sure. Peter.
On the step increases, those effective July 1?
Yes.
So, okay, so those don't also turn around into the regular increases. That's just their increase, right?
All the items under the employee status reports are for those call or part-time members.
Okay.
Whereas the ones under the July 1st, 2020 are your full-time, union and non-union, full-time and regular part-time employees across all the departments.
Okay, then the second question is DPW truck driver resignation. Did anybody do, or is anybody doing an exit interview?
I will confer with Director Adam Jacobs and make sure that
Okay,
gets done.
somebody from outside of DPW, either you
Understood.
or Danielle.
Okay, I'll reach out to Adam.
If that's okay with everybody. I
Oh, that's
think
fine.
Yep, that's fine.
That sounds
Yep.
prudent. Yep. Anything else?
No other questions? I'll do-
That's it for the consent
I'll
agenda.
do the motion to accept consensus gender as presented.
Motion's been made by Mark,
Second.
seconded by Peter. Any discussion on the motion? I'll call the roll. I say yes. Kelly?
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passes 400.
On your next page, you have assessors' recommendations. You have veterans tax credits recommended for map 4, lot 90-1, map 8, lot 45-1, map 31, lot 6, map 2, lot 39-1. You have elderly exemptions recommended for map 3, lot 65H-6, map 6, lot 22-128, map 6, lot 22-14, map 14, lot 62-5, map 17, lot 136, map 16, lot 29, map 14, lot 62-10. You have a report of timber cut and a timber tax warrant for the tax year 2020, which is recommended for map 8, lot 50. And then solar exemption applications, which are all recommended for map 4, lot 87-5-3, map 4, lot 20-4, map 5, lot 45, and map 9, lot 58-26.
Motion to approve the assessor's recommendation as presented.
Thank you. Motion made by Peter.
Second.
Second by Kelly. Any discussion on that motion? I'll call the roll. Yes?
Yes.
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 Motion passes 400. Thank you.
At your next page, you have CIP vehicle replacement. This is bid specs for 2 DPW dump trucks that are presented by the DPW director. This is for a 6-wheel dump truck and a 1.5-ton dump truck as well. The recommendation is to advertise them, and then they would come back for the board for a decision at a future date.
Question?
Yeah, Peter.
We had talked about earlier, potentially having to use some CIP money towards budget. So we wouldn't okay, what you're saying then, by coming back to us, is we wouldn't okay any purchase until we've decided what we're gonna do with that?
Correct. This is to
Would
put.
these be the targeted vehicles, you think?
These are these are the ones that you would be putting out to bid so we could get pricing on them. At some point in the future, the board will need to determine on what you think is an appropriate tax rate, even, I guess, well in advance of what is normally tax rate setting. The voters of the town approved, I believe it was let's see, got my notes later on in my report on so the voters approved a 45-cent increase on the tax rate. Two of those cents are Crispin House and Main Street, and the rest is in the operating budget. So it would be up to the board if you wanted to reduce that either through use of fund balance or if you were going to delay purchases of any CIP. I know that the police chief is getting ready on his police cruisers, so he can continue with that. So department heads are looking for guidance on that. But right now, this is just to put the advertisement out, and it would come to a future board meeting to actually follow through with the purchase.
So you're just looking to us for approval to advertise the bids.
Yes.
That's all we're
Which-
doing. That's all we're doing right now.
Okay, which doesn't mean that we're approving it.
That's
we're
right.
just-
Go out and get bids.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any questions from board members on this? We all
I'll
set,
make a
Peter?
motion, we go ahead and post for bids. Post the bid.
Thank you, Peter. Motion by Peter.
Second.
Second by Mark. Any discussion on the motion to advertise for bids? Seeing none, call the roll. I say yes. Kelly?
Yes.
Yes.
And Mark.
Yes.
Motion passes 400. Thank you.
And again, probably at your next meeting, we can discuss a little bit more in depth. I will talk a little bit in my department update later on this evening, what we're looking at for revenues right now. And we also have starting to receive some news on some of those COVID-related grant reimbursements. So we'll have a little bit better picture of where we're going, where we might have some revenue shortfalls. And the board can make a better decision and give the department heads a little bit more guidance on CIP and if you're gonna target a lower tax rate and whether that's, again, use of fund balance or just, right now, there is not a bill, nothing's been passed by the state legislature to change the annual appropriation. Really to change the tax rate would be to use fund balance and then I guess underspend some of that appropriation, knowing that that would go back into fund balance at the end of the year. So, but we can discuss that at a future one.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is the Goffstown Sports Complex. It's a joint use agreement between Goffstown and Eversource.
Yes, this came to you on June 8th, and there were some questions about some of the wording in there. So we went ahead and we sent this off to town council as well as send it to Primex to have them review it. There were a couple of changes which are noted in engineering tech Eric Gustafson's cover memo that talk about the small changes. One was a change to the allowed encroachment area, the wording in there. And then also Primex asked us to change some wording on indemnification. And this has gone to Primex, or to Eversource, and they have agreed to the changes that were proposed by council and Primex.
Any questions from board members on this item?
And this is, we would make a motion to have the chair sign?
No, I believe this one, they have all five of
All
you.
five.
Yep, there's a signature block for all five members.
Well, I'll make the motion that we sign the agreement with Eversource on that piece of property in the sports complex.
With the changes from,
Yes, with the
From our
changes, I mean, that's
legal- okay.
the agreement we have in front of us.
okay, thank you. Motion is
Second.
made by Peter, seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. I vote yes.
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 Yes, motion passes 4-0-0. Thank you. Next is dog licensing.
Yes, every time this year, the board receives a list of those dog owners that have not renewed their dog license. This year, there are currently 700 unregistered dogs from 539 households. When you compare that to June of 2019, where it was only 420 dogs and 317 households, it is up considerably. Just so everyone is aware, Kathy Ball, the town clerk, has done a lot to try and work with the governor's office and Senator D'Alessandro to have this law either delayed or waived, because these timelines are written into state law, but that change has not come down. So as a town, we do have a responsibility to follow through with this, and you have a copy of the warrant in your room. Again, that information is confidential, but this would be to authorize the town clerk and chief of police to issue those civil forfeiture letters, which you have a copy on you've got a copy of the law, but also you have a copy of the sample. Kathy also did make some changes to soften some of the language in here to try and get people in to get those licenses renewed.
Seems like a lot of people during the pandemic were looking for companionship during the stay-at-home, the shutdown, so that would fill in, I guess. Are there any questions on this item?
Yeah, I have a question. What's the time frame for this, Derek? Sorry, I know you said it's in the other room. When do we have to send these out by?
So if you look at the sample letter that Kathy has provided, these would go out on July 9th. What we plan on doing is putting a couple blasts on Facebook as well as the town website to remind people that this letter that triggers this $25 additional fee to get in here in the next 2 weeks to have those dogs licensed, or point them to the website where they can do the online renewal. And then there's a 15-day period where the owner has at that point to come in and pay the $25. And then we would move to the next step under the statute.
Yeah, so for all those people who may be watching or listening, please get your dogs licensed. This is a pretty tedious process. It'd be a lot quicker and a lot easier if you just please come on down and get your dogs licensed, because we have to do it. It's state law. We don't have any discretion on this.
I think we need to make sure that message is on when we post on Facebook and on our website, that this isn't our law, it's a state law.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion that we go ahead with the town clerk's recommendation on the dog licensing.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion made by Peter and was seconded by Kelly. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. I vote yes,
Yes.
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 and that motion passes 4-0-0. Thank you. Next is the dependent care 2020.
Yeah, the next two items I'd ask the finance director
Okay.
and assistant town administrator Danielle to come up and talk about.
Great. Hi, Danielle.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, at tab 6G, we're looking at a couple of changes we're requesting for the FSA Independent Care Program for 2020. We have a January to December plan year, and the IRS has made a few changes that are unprecedented. So we're asking for permission from the board to move forward. A couple things new this year are highlighted below that don't require your approval, and that is that the carryover limit that was approved to be $500 has automatically increased from the IRS to $550 for this plan year. Additionally, they have added items to the over-the-counter list of eligible items, so the people don't need to get a prescription for over-the-counter medications. So those are both automatic changes. The changes that we are requesting this evening are changes in relation to increasing or decreasing your election amounts, which typically you can only do if you have a qualifying event. They have authorized, the IRS has authorized that this can be done in relation to COVID, but it's up to the governing body to set the limits as to how many changes per household, whether there's going to be any special enrollments. And we recommend that we hold a special open enrollment for folks who may not have been on the plan before. That is part of the IRS recommendation. And it would be to have them join if they want to. There have been some changes where perhaps an employee had an FSA or dependent care through, their spouse, and maybe a job change or something has occurred that they would choose to be eligible at this point. Also, since additional items are now covered that weren't before, they may want to increase, or if programs and dependent care programs were canceled, they may choose to decrease. So we're recommending that we allow 2 changes per employee that is outside of the regular qualifying event. And that would allow people to make a change up or down anytime through the remainder of the plan year, but all of the changes have to be prospective. They cannot go backwards. So money that they've already put in, they have to utilize.
So are you saying, when you say 2 plan changes in a calendar year,
It's-
which would be actually 3, right? Or is it 4?
No, it's 2 changes in the remainder of this calendar year.
All right, that's what, I wasn't sure. I thought you were talking about in the future.
Kelly?
Thank you. So what would the open enrollment period be?
30 days from when we post it.
Okay.
To allow employees to come forward
I'm
if
sure
they'd
you'll
like to.
communicate that it only goes till December so that
Yes.
their deduction amounts will be dependent based on that for the rest of the year. And
Yes,
that's the
yep,
26
based on the
typical-
remaining
right.
payrolls. And the
Um,
last payroll of the year does not have a deduction, because it's that 53rd week.
Yep. And then, is there a way for documentation purposes that we can put some sort of qualifying event tied to COVID so that we can
Yes.
track those changes? Okay, perfect.
Yep. The Health Trust has requested that we actually write COVID as the event reason under
Okay,
other.
great. I think that's it. That's my only questions. I'm good with this. Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Anybody else? Well, before we go there, anybody else? Any questions on the presentation? Okay, thank you, Kelly.
I'll make the motion to authorize the finance director to hold a special open enrollment for 30 days to allow eligible employees to enroll in the town's flexible spending and/or dependent care programs. Furthermore, I motion that we allow all participants to make up to 2 prospective amount changes during the remainder of the plan year as recommended.
Thank you, Kelly.
I'll
Second by Mark.
I just have one
Question?
thing. Current plan year, is that right?
Yep, it says
You
for the
said plan
remainder.
year. I just want to make sure it's the
Nope, I
current.
said remainder of the plan year, during the remainder of the plan year.
So a motion by Kelly, a second by Mark. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. I vote yes.
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 Motion passes 4-0-0. Thank you. And then the next item, Danielle.
Yes, at tab 6H, we're looking at a revised motion that's been requested by our bond counsel in regards to the TAN motion made at your last meeting. They have included that second page you see there is to be a full, what they're identifying the document to be called a vote to authorize. And it goes through all of the specific details and language that are required by both federal IRS, and various state laws in regards to TAN notes. And the summarized motion does include to have a copy of this as part of the minutes officially. So they're asking that you revise the motion that you made last week to make sure we encompass all the needed parts.
So what you want us to do is you want us to make a motion to revise the motion that was made last week to move that the vote to authorize 5 million tax anticipation note for fiscal year 2020 be approved in the form presented to this meeting, and that an attested copy of the said vote will be included with the minutes of this meeting. Is that what you're asking?
That's correct.
Okay, that was the motion.
And they, they did add paragraph 3, and that's where it includes the request the board had made to not have any draws made off the TAN until we come forward at a meeting to request it.
Before we go there, could you just briefly explain, for those who may be watching and listening, what a TAN is, a tax anticipation note, because it's got a big number attached to it?
Yes. Yes, a tax anticipation note would be, in this case, a revolving account that the town would apply for in case of a shortfall in cash flow and revenues throughout the year. And it would allow us to borrow funds against the bond to make our working capital payments, payroll, operating expenses. And then we would
On an a-
repay them at the end of the
But it's on an
term.
as-needed basis.
As needed, yes.
Thank you.
I'll second Peter's motion.
Okay, we've had a motion made by Peter and a second by Mark.
And this is just to clarify, just to everybody, it has to be done now before, so we could, done by what, September 1st? Was the deadline?
Well, there's not a deadline specifically in borrowing the tax anticipation note. However, we're taking advantage of the Gopher grant
Right.
related to COVID that allows the costs of establishing the TAN to be covered under the grant program.
Thank you. We had a motion and a second. Is there any just further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. I vote yes.
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 The motion passes 4-0-0. Thank you.
We do have a public hearing scheduled for 6:30.
Thank you very much for reminding me. It is 6:30. We do have a public hearing scheduled under RSA 79-E, the Community Revitalization Tax Relief for property at 32 Main Street, which is map 34, lot 65. Derek, could you describe what's being done here?
Yes, so the board has received an application for community revitalization tax relief incentive. As you may recall, this is for buildings that are in identified downtown areas. So we have the area which is the Village Commercial District here in the village, as well as the commercially zoned districts down in Pinardville. What this allows is a qualifying applicant has to meet certain thresholds. The rehabilitation work has to be 15% of the building's value, or $75,000 worth of work that they're doing to rehabilitate. And they have to meet one of 4 criteria. They have to enhance the economic vitality of the designated area, enhance or improve a culturally or historically important structure, promote development of the designated area, providing for efficiency, safety, and a greater sense of community, or increase residential housing in town centers. So they need to meet one or more of those 4 criteria. Those are on your decision sheet that's in your packet. And if they meet those and the board grants this, they get a certain number of years where the assessment, the value of that building will not increase because they've done that work. So it basically delays that increased value, which is figured into the property tax and how much they have to pay for property taxes.
So this is intended to help our local businesses as well as to beautify our community.
Yes.
A couple of examples that come to my mind are Putnam's,
Putnam's,
Fixters.
Victor's, we have
Brown's
the
Emporium.
Brown's Emporium,
Yep.
which is across from Sully's. I know the mill has an approved 79E, but they haven't gotten quite to that point. of starting construction, but they're another one that qualified for that as well.
Thank you. Those are some good examples. This has been a big help to our community and help to beautify it and helping some of the downtown businesses.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve this for a 5-year. Is that,
And I would just ask that you just quickly
Wait a
go
minute, wait a
through,
minute,
you have a.
Wait a minute, have to, public
I
hearing.
know.
Oh, it's
We've gotta
public
go to the
hearing,
public
yes.
hearing, that's right. But I'm saying, that I would think a 5-year would be the one we would
Yeah,
wanna.
yeah.
That's what we've done, that's what we've done in the past.
Well,
Five.
they don't, in order to go any longer, you have to increase your residential, your living space, and that's, they're not doing that, so. They're not.
Derek, I'm looking for the public hearing spiel.
I can read it off if
Okay,
if you'd like.
thank you.
The purpose of this public hearing is to accept public input and vote regarding a RSA 79-E Community Revitalization Tax Relief application submitted for proposed development of the 32 Main Street property, which is located at tax map 34, lot 65.
Thank you.
So you would open the
Yep,
hearing?
so I'm now going to open up the public hearing for anyone who'd like to comment on this. Is there anyone here who would like to comment? Now is your opportunity. Derek, is there anyone on the line?
There is. I'm going to unmute whoever's on the telephone. If you wish to be heard on this public hearing, if you could just identify yourself.
Good evening, who do we have with us? Is there someone on the line who'd like to be heard on this?
Jennifer.
No, it isn't. No, it's a different number. So
No? Can't, nobody there?
there is somebody
Okay.
there, but
So one last time, is there somebody on the phone who'd like to comment? Now would be your opportunity. Okay, we're going to move on. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. When do we take action on
Do
this?
we, can I
sorry.
ask a question? Do we have any, the last application that we had a pretty in-depth listing of what was gonna be done, just out of curiosity?
that was provided in your packet on June 8th. I did not include that again, but I can go grab.
None of that's changed? No, I
No, none of
remember.
that has
Okay.
changed.
Thank you.
What you do have here in your packet is you have your decision sheet where I would ask the board to go through the 4 criteria and just do a straw poll of yes or no, what they meet, and then decide on the number of years. And then behind that, you have the staff review. So you have review from the building department, the economic development coordinator, planning and zoning. And what it basically has on the second page of that is the pre-rehabilitation assessed value of the building is $118,500, and the estimated cost of rehabilitation is $77,975, or 65.8% of the building's current value.
So there is no wait time after the close of the public hearing. We can take action on
You
this
can take
tonight.
action this evening, yes.
Any
So-
questions from board members?
No, I think what Derek just says is we have to go through and find at least one reason. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, if you could go through the four,
Right. Yep.
public benefits and identify yes or no if they meet those.
Okay, why don't I read those off? Does the project provide at least one of the following public benefits? The first one, enhances the economic vitality of the designated area.
You want an answer?
Yes,
I
please.
think it does.
Yeah,
Okay?
with the work that's been done out
Yeah.
front.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just get comment.
Yep.
The second is enhances and improves a culturally or historically important structure.
That was a question I had at the hearing. They were gonna look into whether it had any historic ties. Did we get any?
This did
updates?
not go to HTC. Normally, if somebody were going to try and qualify under that, we would go to HTC for comment.
Okay?
Okay.
So we got a consensus that we're okay on that one. The third item is that it promotes development of the designated area, providing for efficiency, safety, and a greater sense of community consistent with RSA 9-B. I believe it does.
Yes,
Yep.
I would say yes.
Yep.
Consensus on that. And finally, it increases residential housing in urban or town centers.
No, it does not.
No, it does not.
So it meets 2 out of the 4 according to our
Well, meets-
straw poll.
3 of the 4.
No, it doesn't really.
Normally, under enhances and improves a culturally or historically important structure, again, you'd go to the HTC
Right.
and have a recommendation
We
for
didn't get
them.
So we need 1 of the 4.
One of the
We've got
4.
2
We've
of the
got 2,
4.
so we're good.
Yeah.
All right, so we entertain a motion then.
Well, we want to go to the
We're gonna
years
do the
part?
years.
Whoops, I'm sorry, yep, you're right.
We have been doing 5 years
Yep.
in the past, and I'd recommend we do the same thing.
Five. Okay,
Anything else we needed to cover, Derek?
No, that's it.
I make a motion, we approve the 79E for a 5-year period for 32 Main Street.
I'll
Thank you.
second.
Motion by Peter, seconded by Kelly. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. I vote yes,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
and the motion passes 4-0-0. Thank you. Next is Goffstown Public Pools.
Yes, so this is the final.
Come on up, Rick, just to sit up front in case we have any questions.
So this is the final item in, under the town administrator's report. Again, the Parks and Rec Director, Rick Wilhelmi, has been working with the town's Emergency Operations Center, the personnel that make up that, to try and find a way of whether it was feasible to open up Barnard and Roy Park pools this summer during the COVID-19 pandemic. Those pools have not yet been open. They are normally opened after mid-June. We've had multiple discussions, including on-site, and last week, the Emergency Operations Center personnel made a recommendation to the Select Board and the Parks and Rec Commission to keep those the pools closed throughout the summer of 2020 due to the concerns with the COVID-19 pandemic, and as well as some of the safer at home guidelines that came down from the state.
Yeah, and I can just add, as the Select Board's rep for the Parks and Recreation Commission, Rick did a tremendous amount of work trying to make this happen. Really, really tried hard to figure out some way that we could get the pools open to provide some relief, at least for Goffstown residents, and it just became more and more complicated the more we tried to drive that square peg into a round hole. So based upon all of that, and the Parks and Rec Commission's recommendation to the Select Board not to open them, and especially the EOC's recommendation not to open them, it only makes sense that we go along with those recommendations. But I just want to let folks know we're watching out there, because there's been a lot of chatter on social media about it. We tried, we really, really tried, and we just found it was in the best interest for the health and safety of Goffstown residents to leave them closed for this 1 year. We'll get by this 1 year. Next year, we hope we'll all be swimming again, happy and cool.
And
So
the
Rick, thanks for all your work on that.
The EOC, we took that under, really careful consideration and spent a lot of time discussing it. And we, like Derek said, we actually went out to the pools and tried to lay something out and look at ways to do it. And it was just, when you start thinking about even the management of it was getting out of hand, so.
Yeah, I want to let folks know, a lot of time and effort went into this by a lot of people from many different aspects of town government, and we tried our best, and we just couldn't come up with a way to do it. So I hope everybody understands and can do the best they can. You still have to run through sprinklers for this year.
Slip and slide.
I just have one
Yes.
thing to ask, Mr. Chair, that maybe we could add some context to. I was monitoring the discussions on social media, and one thing that came up a lot was the question about Goffstown's openness, that we don't require residency for pool usage. And I thought it might be something good to clarify in this context of the grant money used and why we don't limit to Goffstown residents only. I know we've talked about this before, about why we don't allow
Yeah.
that, and why that wouldn't have been a solution to this.
Yeah, there's been a lot,
limiting
there was a lot of debate on that, because portion of the funding to construct the pools was federal funding, and if it is federal funding, you can't close it and limit it to Goffstown. But that debate still rages, because other people would say, that's not true, yes, you can.
There's ways around it.
Yeah.
You have to not, if you say it's for residents only, you still have to block out a 2-hour block or whatever time frame that would be open for non-residents as well. So that's kind of how you can work through it. There are ways to work through that, but for many, many years, yes, that was the notion. That it,
Yeah. We ran into this issue with the waterfront at Glen Lake and the boat ramp, because we used fishing game monies, which were federal dollars, to build the boat ramp and the boat parking area. So what we did is we left the ramp open 24 hours a day, but restricted parking to only those who had resident stickers on their cars. So we found a way to work it in that regard. And I bet we can find a way to make this happen as well. Anything else on that issue?
I guess I would only ask that, again, this is a recommendation of the EOC, which has also been, the Parks and Rec Commission also voted.
Yeah, vote.
It would be a vote by the select board to
Right.
I make
close.
the motion, we close the pools with the recommendation from the EOC and the Parks and Rec Commission. We close the pools for this year.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion made by Peter, seconded by Mark. Is there any, and the motion is to close the pools for this year, keep them closed. Any discussion on the motion?
No.
Seeing none, I'll call the roll. I vote yes.
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 The motion passes 4-0-0. Thank you. Let's see. Now,
I think fire chief's up next.
yeah,
Tab
Yep.
8, you have department updates.
thank you.
Again, as we've made this transition back to in-person meetings, I kind of advise department heads, unless you have a business item that you really feel strongly about coming in, it might be better to not attend so we don't have as many people in the room and we can maintain that social distancing. So not all department heads are here, and that's the reason why.
Yeah. You're always welcome, but you're not required to be here if you don't have something on the agenda.
Mr. Chair, is
Yeah.
this something in the context of having them provide us updates that we'll continue to do moving forward
Yes.
for the, okay,
Yeah.
just clarifying, thank you.
That's the intent. So first, we're going to start with Chief Allard from the Fire Department and the EOC. And you have, by the way, these are in your packet, so you can follow along. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, members of the board. Just a few updates from the EOC. So we continue to monitor our local and national information with regards to COVID-19 as it's ever changing on a daily basis. Our EOC team meets as needed. Right now it's bi-weekly. I think the last numbers I checked with the state, we had just over 5,500 cases and over 300 people have passed from COVID-19. So we're still really keeping an eye on that. From the department standpoint, right now we have one person that is quarantined at home, about halfway through that 14-day period. Our call volumes have dramatically increased over the last 3 to 4 weeks. We're kind of back to normal operations with regards to calls. And the last thing, we participated last Friday evening in the Goffstown's graduation.
That's great.
Us and the police department. It was great to
Yeah, that was great.
show some support. And they did a fantastic job with that graduation.
Yeah, thanks for doing that.
You're very
Thanks to all
welcome.
your crew.
Questions for me? That's all I have.
Anything for the chief?
Keep up the good work.
Yeah, thanks, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next we have, well, Adam was on here. You've got his report. I don't see him here. Is he on the phone? Is he planning on being here?
No, he was not planning on being here again, just for the benefit of those people that may be watching, or those people that may be calling. DPW replaced the failing culvert on Wallace Road that you might have seen, the sinkhole that occurred there, as well as the culverts on Lesnick Road. Continental Paving is mobilized to Goffstown, is starting to pave many of the roads that are listed as part of their 2020 road work. And I believe the Goffstown Village Water Precinct was considering replacing a portion of the water main on East Union Street, but the latest update from DPW Director is that is a no-go. So that last paragraph in the report is not going to happen this year.
Okay, thank you, Derek.
We have any update on Shirley Hill? I don't see anything here that's
I know
it's a
that
major project that we've been talking about for.
I can ask the director to have that for the next meeting. I know that we did post some traffic advisories as they begin work out there, and I'll ask him for a more updated.
Our next meeting is not for 3 weeks, and I think there's gotta be a way we can get the information out.
I can send it out to board members.
Yeah.
Yep.
Would you
Please, yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Can we get, that's the question
Just an
we
up-
get, what's going on, what's
Yeah,
going on?
just an update and the time frame for finishing it up.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I have a
Yes.
question, please. Do we know if DPW has submitted cost, while the transfer station was not accepting payment for drop-offs, I know we had an increased amount of materials. Have we submitted for grant reimbursement for those associated fees?
So, before Danielle speaks to it, we cannot make up for any lost revenues.
Just for the cost of
But the
disposal.
additional tipping,
That's correct. Yeah, we cannot make up for any lost revenues. However, the additional tipping costs is something that we are going to submit to our gopher. And that submission is going to be later this month.
Thank you.
I got a
Judging
question.
by the activity down there must have been a lot more tipping going on.
There was more, yes. We're comparing
we're comparing.
this time to the same time last year.
Yeah.
And we have to give a 3-year history
Yeah,
to
okay.
establish those averages.
Peter?
When we originally talked about this, we were supposed to be taking down numbers from the windshields and then sending out bills. Did we do that?
We have not received any billing information from DPW. I know that
That was the
there's-
plan. So are we telling me we didn't follow that plan?
I do have Director Adam Jacobs on the telephone, if you can unmute him.
Good evening, Adam. Can you hear us, Adam?
Hey, I can. Hey, folks, sorry, I was, sounds like 5 seconds behind, so I caught the tail end of, talking about the original plan about, tipping fees.
Right, did we change that plan and we didn't follow it?
How so? Sorry, I
Well,
missed
I'm
the
asking-
context there.
Okay, our original plan was we were gonna just write down numbers and then send bills without any personal contact.
Yes, that is still the plan.
Okay.
Collected the info, may or may not surprise, folks to learn that, we did not have a lot of, identified commercial tonnage, so it's a shorter list, so trying to do a little bit more validation before I send it to finance, but it's a pretty short list as far as what's actually gonna go out the door for an invoice.
Okay. And then Shirley Hill Road was another one, update on Shirley Hill?
Yeah, Shirley Hill. So, since the previous meeting, nothing significant. I think the last time we had met, I gave the update that we got in there, did some of the shouldering, loam seed, slope work on the phase 2 section, which is the upper end near Wallace. We have, because Continental came on such a hair on fire, here this month, with all the roads. It's probably one of our busiest months ever for overlay, certainly at June anyway. We had to flex to support those works, so we sort of split the crew out to the wind to get some of the preparation work for that paving done. We had some mill and fill areas to take coal patch out, so these things eat up a lot of crew. So the last 2 to 2.5 weeks have been pretty much everybody into the winds trying to keep up ahead of Continental. In addition to the fact that we're shorthanded, as you know, with the postings that we've got out there. So the hope is next week. Later this week, we've got the second box culvert. The contractor's coming for that, so we're going to have jock alert for that, and then we will be in there shortly thereafter to pick up the regular reclaim portion of. Right now, the all hands pretty much will be on deck. Shouldering the several miles of road that just got paved over the last 5 or 6 days. That takes a pretty good sized crew to get their crews to get those all those roads shouldered so they're nice and safe and back up the curbs before they get damaged. If somebody runs into the new curb when it doesn't have any backfill, it can damage it.
Thank you.
I got my questions answered.
Good, thank you. Thank you, Adam. Enjoy your evening.
Yeah, sorry about the delay. You too.
Chief Serino, did you want to share anything with the board?
Good evening, everybody. It's
Evening.
Good evening.
glad to see everybody in person. Just really quickly, I'll be brief. Police department is doing very well. We're all healthy. We're all here, which is a good thing. This week, I'm planning on trying to open everything up to full capacity. All of our non-emergency crimes, we try to get back to responding in-house or into person. Still want to limit some of the external people coming into the building unless they're wearing masks. We've been letting our vendors come in now to help us out with some of that stuff. So we're doing really well. Everyone's doing really well and positive, and so
Glad to hear
so
it.
far so good. Glen Lake's been busy. That's an
Yeah, I'll
update. So we'll see how that goes, but other than that, we've been doing what we can do.
Great.
In the times we're in.
Chief, I've seen some props on Facebook where residents are acknowledging your efforts at Glen Lake to make sure that we just have residents parking there. Have you seen an increase in?
Are you kidding
Of
me?
course he has.
So I would
Well, I know
say.
we do every year.
I
but
would
just
say
wanna know.
that you're seeing people saying thank you for us enforcing the resident-only parking. I will tell you, the people that are from out of state are not happy that they're receiving tickets because they don't see why they need tickets. So I was just telling Selectman Janice today that I received a letter from a woman in Massachusetts who was not very happy she received a $25 ticket. So
The
some
reason
people,
is, the reason is because you don't pay taxes here. Plain and simple.
So, I will certainly, I'm gonna reach out to her, she left me her number, I'd like to just touch base with her, but we are seeing an increase. I will tell you, I think I said this before in some previous meetings, we are seeing an increase at Angels Point, we're seeing an increase surprisingly behind people's property on Shirley Park. We went there for one call where some people showed up with a cooler, kind of meandered down behind someone's house, we're at the lake. Were no problems when they were told it's not your property, it's private property, it's not just an open beach. They were really apologetic and left, but it took us, a little time to get over there and talk to them. It was just a little bit surprising that people are getting ready to, do what they can do to get in the water. The Angel Point situation, we're working with Eversource, but what we're seeing is people are parking at the rail trail spot, and they're walking down the trail, cutting into the woods, and using Angel Point. Unless Eversource really posts that pretty well, we're running into some problems. It sounds like it was a fight down there. We're not really sure how it went down, but other than that, there hasn't been really any problems on Angel Point, but this is what we're seeing now. So, but we're dealing with it.
So we're still sending water samples to DES. We're taking the samples and sending them up to be analyzed.
The health officer is still continuing on the same frequency that DES did.
Yeah.
If we get to the point where we get a sample that is too high, we will post the beach, and then he would resample the following day, basically following the same way that DES does.
Yeah.
So heads up, chief.
So
It may get worse before it gets better, because it's
Sure.
gonna be, it looks like it's gonna be a hot summer, a lot of fecal coliform probably forming.
Sure.
I got one question on the other end. Is there an update on the rail trail and what's going on down towards the Manchester end as far as, that's getting some pretty bad press down there, and are we doing anything?
What are you asking?
On
So
the
we-
rail trail.
We are on there, we're on our bikes. We had another situation over the weekend where a person allegedly got ran over by an ATV in Manchester and then was highly intoxicated and walked into Goffstown and reported that. There's no evidence of any such accident, as we couldn't find a four-wheeler on our side, but there is some heavy traffic coming across the bridge. So we're down there, but of course, we can only be down there so much. But yeah, we're down there. It's getting busy.
Is there other instances?
Well, I mean, there's been photos and videos on kids carrying knives and all kinds of stuff, and I just don't want, I witnessed a few years, last year, that
Question after call.
a kid with a gun running up the rail trail after Manchester was chasing him, so.
Well, I would strongly urge anybody who knows that information or is seeing or hearing it, please call us so we can go down there immediately. But again, we are going down there when we can. The good news is we just increased our bike patrol. We're getting a couple more people certified on that. It's been taking some time because we're not allowed to, we haven't had any training for the academy. So, but the more we can increase our personnel on bikes down there, the better. And we can't drive our cruisers down there, obviously, but we're trying our best. But please, I mean, if anybody hears anything or sees anything, give us a call. We'll certainly investigate that to the fullest. That's something that we don't want to have happen, so absolutely.
Mark, you had a question?
As far as the Ballard post and all the posts that are supposed to be in place, have you done a quick check, all the posts in place? I find it very hard for a four-wheeler to get from their side to our side, and I'm not gonna debate that, that's not the place for debate right now, but, I mean, as long as all the Ballard posts are in place, everything's in place, our safety net is there, and we should be all set?
Sure, I haven't physically gone down there. Maybe Mr. Pierce can give a little bit of an update on that if he
I
has. any
actually
information.
have. I ran that from County Complex all the way into Manchester on Friday, and they were all there.
Okay,
The
So
only-
unless something changed in a few
Sure.
days,
I
Just
just,
didn't get around them.
Well.
yeah, that's, yeah, I mean,
but they're there, yeah.
yeah, with the motorcycles and,
Yeah. You can
you
get
know, the
around.
four-wheelers, you're not gonna get around them.
like I said, it sounds like it might have happened in Manchester, and then the intoxicated subject walked into Goffstown, then called us, so I'm not really sure, but there's no evidence on our side of it, so,
Thank you, Chief.
all right.
Can I just want to look back to the waterfront
Sure.
at Glen Lake, and I just want to appeal to the folks who are watching or listening. It's a wonderful resource for our residents, but if we're going to keep it open, i.e. no closures because of increased levels of E. coli, coliform, we can each do our part. Don't put your kids in there with diapers on. There's porta potties down there. If you need to go to the bathroom, use the porta potty. Dogs are also a significant source of fecal coliform. So if you're going to bring a dog down there, pick up after your dog. If we all do that, we'll be able to cut down on the number of increased levels of fecal coliform. So just a public service announcement.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, is that
Yes.
something perhaps Parks and Rec could take on putting out to the public, or is there an appropriate? I think that's a great message, and people may not think of those things. I would love to put that out there publicly by someone.
Sure. We can
Some-
certainly put
somehow.
We
that.
can get a message out and remind people that it is a carry-in, carry-out facility. We ask everybody to take their trash with them, so I can work with Rick and Aaron on messaging.
Pick up after your dogs, use the porta potties.
I spent Saturday, I was over there for 3 hours on Saturday myself, and was walking around talking to the people. And I think things are pretty good right now. I mean, I'm amazed about the trash pickup. The trash is not that big of an issue.
Really?
It seems to be going pretty good. I mean, as far as a PSA, would that be the health officer, or would that be us as far as, I don't know what the
Not sure, that's what I
direction.
was asking, but to
Yeah,
Collis's point,
Yeah.
don't put your children in diapers and their dogs, just be cautious so we don't run into a situation where we have to then close
We should probably post that everywhere,
Yeah.
early.
Yes.
Truly, we should.
everywhere.
Yeah, let's see what we can do.
Yeah, we can get some messaging out there,
Great.
absolutely.
Great.
Thank you.
Let's save the bit
Thanks,
of
Rick.
water we have right now.
Anything else, Mr. Chair?
Let's see, the other departments, I have something from the library. Kelly, do you want to
Oh, sure.
sort of brief that for folks?
Yeah, they are very passionately gearing up to adjust their summer program. As you know, it's a very, very well-attended, diversified group of programs that they put out each year for their summer experience. So they're in the process of being back fully working, all together as a team and trying to do that. So information on the summer experience will be coming out soon, and they're going to be trying to keep up with the amount of programming that they've done in the past within the guidelines per everything. So I think that's it, and they're getting ready to do same thing. The drive-through pickup is coming shortly. I think that's it. They're working very hard over there. And just a quick update, they just recently waived fees for Goffstown-owned materials, late fees, replacement fees, and things of that nature are still in place, but they're doing their part to make sure that everything is really accessible right now, which is great.
Yeah, I want to give a big shout out to Diane and her staff. They've done a great job providing some opportunities for folks to feel some sort of normalcy in a time when they feel like they're shut in all the time, and they've done a great job providing programs. In almost all cases, no cost. I thought the menu they put out where everything was free was very imaginative but telling. Certainly, I thought that was great.
Yeah, they're very excited to get the public computers back up and open to the public, following all of the recommended requirements. There's a need for public access to the computers, so they're very excited to be able to provide that again also.
That's cool. And then finally, we have the town hall update, Derek.
Yes, so we've been open on limited hours. We've reduced hours from 8 AM to 3 PM. We started that on June 8th. We did that to allow primarily town clerk to catch up with all the mail-ins, online transactions, and the Dropbox transactions. The plan is on Wednesday of this week is to return to normal hours, 8 to 4. Town clerk is starting to get caught up on those. We've been working with town clerk on the election items that are coming down from Secretary of State's office. We are awaiting final guidance from them. They had their commission that finalized their report, but we're waiting for the actual final guidance on whether or not there's going to be any legislation out of the Senate regarding absentee ballots and the counting of absentee ballots to further work on that. You do have a report from the tax collector. As of June 15th, we are a little bit ahead of schedule of where we were last year. Last year, we had collected almost 11% of property taxes out there, whereas this year we're at 14%. So that is looking favorable at the moment. Again, the potential need for a tax anticipation note still does exist. So we're appreciative of the board of making that vote tonight. And then on the next page, it just is a detailed breakdown of where some of our reimbursement grants look. I will let you know that the personnel and non-personnel related costs that are under DOJ there, the Department of Justice, we did receive word today that all those were approved. So at your meeting in July, we'll be bringing those to you to accept. And then on the revenue side, the motor vehicles are down from where they were in February, but they are still on the point. They are still on track where it does look favorable that we could get 100% of what we budgeted. We budget that line very conservatively, so even though there was quite a dip in April and May, we still do believe we can come in at 100% of that. We will be down. We will have a shortfall in a couple other lines, primarily the transfer station revenue. Again, we didn't collect from residents for 2 months, as well as finance interest. And then on the last page, the governor has confirmed that he has no intent to cut meals and rooms or the shared revenues that are in the biennial budget. There is going to be a shortfall in the highway block grant funding, but right now the New Hampshire Senate is looking at changing that calculation. If they get COVID funds from the federal government, that would fund all the municipalities at 100%, so that's good news as well.
That is good news.
Some questions, Mr. Chair. Dirk, do we happen to have an update or just an idea of how much our online usage for vehicle registration changed in this time period? Do we have any?
I can probably talk to Kathy and see, we could probably look at the May, and once we get through June, I can bring a report to you to see the dollar value of the number of transactions versus the same time period last year. We can look at that.
And then do you think that it might be worthwhile to go through the changes or the guidance for the absentee registration and request options that sort of impact us or that would have an impact on us and potential budget lines? I know it's not fully complete, but it's kind of the first.
We've been watching that closely.
Okay.
We've been watching that closely, and the state does have a pot of CARES Act money to put towards elections, and they've said the committee basically talked about them setting some of that aside for increased postage, but again, until the Secretary of State gives us that final guidance, we're a little hesitant to give you too much information.
You talk about it all you want, but
Yeah, it could get changed.
you know,
Well, I've read through the report that they put out, and I think it, just to have it in our forefront as we're going into planning, I mean, it's gonna come quick, and if they don't release the updates till later, I don't know, it might just be worthwhile.
Yeah, we have identified a few lines where we are kind of holding off in town hall. We did have some savings in a couple of the software lines that I've kind of identified, whereas if we need additional personnel for processing those absentee requests, or if there's increased mail costs that are not covered by the state, that we can do that. And then also for the September primary, the good thing is we do have the municipal gopher funds, the municipal relief funds, so we might be able to tap into those as well.
Great, thank you.
But it's good to hear, it's encouraging, I think, that, at least on the revenue side, it sounds like we're holding our own and, you know.
Yeah, there are going to be some shortfalls when we do the revised revenues in August and September. We will identify those, but the fact that the governor's saying that they're gonna keep those shared revenues whole as much as they can. Again, the gas tax one, that's down about 7.5%, and that's about 400,000 in our budget. So we'll see, you know, there is a potential for a shortfall there as well as some of the local ones. So there is going to be a shortfall in our revenues, but I think it will be manageable, and we could, through the use of fund balance, you'll be able to make up that difference so it doesn't impact the property taxpayers.
Thanks, Derek. Anything else for Derek?
Good.
Thank you, Derek. Now we are at, oh yeah, the old business, the Goffstown purchasing policy. There's some information. It's on tab 9A. So Derek, can you walk us through the changes that were recommended by the staff?
Yes, so at your
Highlight
previous
stuff.
meeting, there were some questions about developing a local preference option in here. But as we went through it, there were some suggested highlights that were done by Adam when he was the town administrator that we brought forward, as well as some items. We went through and updated all the attached laws that were in there as attachments and deleted anything that was not relevant. We did change from Board of Selectmen to Select Board throughout. We added some documentation requirements for purchase orders that has been recommended by the auditors. And we also changed the bid performance bond requirement to match the 2017 law change. So again, most of those updates, I guess the biggest one that's in there that is a change that is not due to a law is attachment A, which is right now, all departments need to do purchase orders for purchases for $3,000 to $9,999. This seeks to modify that to make the floor for a purchase order to $5,000 up to $14,999. And then sealed bid and RFPs the minimum amount would be $15,000 and up. So that's a recommended change.
Why?
Mr. Chair.
I think, this was a change that was made in 2014, and we've seen an increase cost on some of these items where, especially with the $5,000 or the $10,000 threshold for sealed bids, it kind of limits us and delays, because we do have to prepare those RFPs and go out for them. This would still require the 3 quotes and to come to the board if we're going to use state bid pricing. I think it just makes it a little bit more efficient from the department head's point of view.
But as a select board oversight, does it challenge that at all?
It doesn't, the major changes with that RFPs and approving those bid specs. So yeah, there is, I guess, that gap between 10,000 and 5,000, but again, we're not seeing a whole lot of purchases that fall within that. Most of our RFPs and bid specs are for large purchase of vehicles, or facilities that go well above that. It's some of the other things that are kind of right on that threshold.
Danielle, did you want to add something?
Can I ask a
Yep,
question
sure.
first?
Sorry.
But that being said, we shouldn't have any amount that's in limbo, right? Everything would be included in, okay, thank you. And then to go along with what we were talking about, the purchasing orders, you added a comment in here that auditors regularly ask for proof that we're complying with the purchasing policy.
Yeah, there is a require in there that when it falls into that purchase order requirement, but it's not a sealed bid, that departments get 3 quotes, and sometimes finance is having to chase those down from departments. So this is to kind of tighten that up and have them
Okay.
actually submit it with the purchase order request.
Chloe, did you have anything
Nope,
else?
that's
really
it,
up?
thank you.
Anybody else? Danielle, do you want to add anything? Don't have to, just often the opportunity. Okay, thank you.
And then I did provide a sample for what the city of Nashua uses for their local preference. It really only applies when they're doing requests for bids and requests for proposals. I also provided a copy of the town of Merrimack, what they have for their local vendor preference. Again, this is for when it comes down to sealed bids. I have reached out to town council to see if they have any advice on a local preference policy. They are working on it, but I don't have a solid answer back from them on that. Again, this would only apply for when we go out for sealed bid, not necessarily for purchases made on a regular basis by departments. And I believe that was one item that might have led to this discussion.
So you're seeking some legal guidance?
I am seeking legal guidance just so we don't get into a point where,
Okay.
you know, we get in trouble. I know with a lot of the federal grants, we have to follow federal guidelines, and those local preference policies would have to go out the window, but
Did you get any indication as to when we might get a response back on?
they've been very prompt with their responses, so I'm hoping that I would get something this week.
So given that I don't see there's any urgency to this, I want to table this until we get some feedback from them, so we have that information at hand.
To be honest with you, Mr. Chair, I'm still a little concerned about the limits too. I mean, that's our job. I mean, that's this board's job to watch that. I mean, if it was a town manager form of government, well, that'd be a little bit different, but we're actually the end user, so.
Yep, I agree. Okay,
Just for clarification, Chair, if I could.
Sure.
When you say you're concerned about the limits, Selectman Georgianis, can you elaborate? Because the limits for the purchase orders are not changing as far as the board's oversight. It's the limits as to when they have to go to RFP or get the PO.
Exactly, that should go to RFP, that's a purchasing policy, and, you know, you could, by not doing the RFP, you may not be getting the best deal for the town.
So this secondary, the sealed bid limit, not so much the first line, is it? The increase from 3,000 to 5,000 on the minimum for a purchase order, that's something that had never gone to the board. It just required the 3 quotes, and so it had the same requirement.
So why would we change it?
Because we're seeing more and more bills come in after the fact for regular operational costs that are above that 3,000, and then we're backtracking. We're actually doing the process in reverse, where we get a bill, and now we have to go out and try and find quotes, but they're really, it's just a paperwork process at that point where the work is already done.
So what I'm hearing you say is, we're not following the current policy.
The problem is for items that are coming up that are regular items, such as, say, refilling an inspection of the fire extinguishers. We have to do that, and that they don't know how many items are gonna have to be refilled each year. It depends on the expiration dates and all of that. So they can't go out and get quotes ahead of time. It depends on, at that moment during the inspection, how many are empty or whatnot. When that happens, and that's what we're seeing a lot of, is departments come forward, they now have a bill for over the 3,000, maybe it's only 3,200, but it's over the 3,000, and now we're saying, well, you have to create a PO after the fact before you can pay the bill. You have to go out and get quotes, but the quotes are dated long after the service has been completed, and it's kind of backwards. So we were looking to increase that, and the federal limits are, and the NHGFOA and GFOA limits are all well above the 5,000 limit. So we thought maybe it would make sense to just eke up the very bottom of the limit.
The circumstances that you gave me just now could happen at any limit.
They could.
So, I mean, just changing the limit doesn't automatically gonna fix the problem. So if you have a limit of 5,000 and something comes in at 5,200, you're doing the same thing.
Yes, but the difference is we were looking at our history of where it's happening, and it's happening in that 3 to 5 range. Once we hit 5,000, it's usually not just happening on its own. It's more of an item that they knew in advance and went out and got their quotes and created the process following the purchasing policy.
But when you change that policy to 5,000, they'll do the same thing. You won't know, they won't go out for bid or for the 3 quotes or whatever, because They won't have to. And then when it's supposed to be a $4,500 project and it ends up being a $5,200 project, you're in the same situation again. All you've done is you've just expanded the amount of money, the oversight on that amount of money.
Danielle, would it be possible to get how many times that's happened, since you said you're doing history on it?
I can gather some information on that.
And what is that gonna do? Tell us that they're not following the policy?
Yes, but if it's happened once
How-
in
how
the
much of
past
a problem it
year,
is, yeah.
I don't think that we need to change it if it's happened one time, but if it's happening
Yeah.
a lot, then
Well, then they're not following the policy.
I'm aware of that, but that's what I'm saying. I want to know how much of an impact.
Would you suggest we move the goal line because they're not following the policy?
No, I'm not suggesting anything. I just want information.
But Kelly's just asking for some data, and I think that's reasonable. I think that's something we can probably accommodate, can you, Danielle?
Yeah, I
Okay,
can-
great, thank you. I think that's a reasonable request. Okay. Anything else on that? We've tabled that. Then we're back to, so now we're at the draft ad hoc committee charter, which is in front of you. It's this one. It's got the blue highlighting on it. Derek, thanks for working with me on that, even though we missed a little bit on the weekend timing, but, so this is one of our goals. And so this is an initial draft of what a charter would look like to establish this ad hoc committee. I think the important part of it, want to get some feedback from the board on the draft and how we need to modify the draft. I'll recognize right up front, there are some gaps in the draft relative to objectives and deliverable deadlines. And Derek and I are continuing to work on that to try and put some specific numbers to those. But let me just read the mission statement. The mission of the committee is to explore opportunities and obstacles for constructing a pedestrian bridge across the river in the location of the old railroad bridge that was destroyed by fire in 1976. So quite simply, to rebuild a bridge there for a number of different reasons, and that'll be part of the ad hoc committee's charge and work, is to identify those opportunities and obstacles, including costs and everything else, and engineering and everything else that's going to go along with it. It will be a big project, there's no question about it. We don't have to start from ground zero. Manchester went through this exercise not that long ago. In fact, it was 2016 when they built the bridge that connected the west side of Manchester over to Goffstown. You can go online, you can find the as-built engineer drawings. So it's all there, it's all laid out. The information is available. I did reach out to, it was Hoyle Tanner who did that engineering work for that bridge. I did reach out to someone who I worked with for many, many years at DS, Joe Ducharme, who heads up the environmental group at Hoyle Tanner Associates. I left him a message on Friday, and I'm hoping to hear back from him shortly, just to pick his brain about what went right, what went wrong, what to look out for. You know, just some pointers on what, again, how to smooth out the process. So you've got the draft in front of you. If you could take some time to look it over and make some comments and suggestions, that would be most appreciated. Part of what I'd like you to look at is the composition of the ad hoc committee. Right now, it's proposed in this draft to be 9 members so that we keep it an odd number for voting purposes. There'd be one representative from this board, a representative from the Economic Development Council, one representative from Conservation Commission, one representative from Goffstown Main Street Program, one representative from, I got the Conservation Commission in here twice. Does that change the number? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, it doesn't change the number, it's just a duplicate. And then 4 members from the community at large. The suggestion is that perhaps the 4 members should be split. 2 of the members should be property owners and 2 business owners. Again, that's just a recommendation. Yes, Kelly?
So I had a question about that. Is that within a radius? I know of location and proximity to where the bridge would be. I know when we did the lakefront, we did property owners on the lakefront and then just perpetually at large members.
I'm open to suggestions.
I don't know if that impacts anything.
There's really not many homeowners that would be unless somebody on Mill Street or,
Yeah.
you know.
I think, in my opinion, it's really the business owners that I think are
Yeah,
want to
I
hear
agree
from.
with- I agree with that.
So you got the Conservation Commission on here twice,
Right,
right?
right, but I don't think
So
it
can
changes.
can you put maybe a member from the rail trail?
Well, David's here, so we're gonna, I assume he wants to address the board. Unless I think there's some background information. Did you pass out for folks that didn't?
Yes, there is, behind the
Oh,
draft
I didn't see it.
charter,
Okay, thank
there
you.
are two
Yep.
documents that have
Yep.
been provided.
Yep.
But I mean, as you got
We
that on
would-
twice, that would be an extra
We
another
would need
person.
an additional to make 9.
Yeah, you need one more person if you eliminate one of the Conservation Commission spots.
I
Yep.
can help that.
Still, I'm sorry?
I can help.
He's
on that.
volunteering already.
Come on up, David.
Thank you.
And thank you for being patient and waiting through the meeting, but
Well, I thank the chair for letting me speak to this ad hoc idea of chartering a committee. For the videographer, occasionally I'll be making reference to a graphic, and I'm not sure if the camera can pick that up adequately, but that's the one I'm speaking to. I'm David Pierce, 21 Mill Street, and I like to provide some comments concerning the chartering of an ad hoc committee to study the feasibility of a bridge over the pedestrian bridge over the Piscataquag River, which, as the chair said, utilizes the former railroad corridor, which is now the Gulfstown Rail Trail. I've been before the board several times in my capacity as an officer in the Friends of the Gulfstown Rail Trail, but my board of directors is neutral for the present time on the concept of a bridge. So I'm here speaking for myself, not our board of directors. So prior to your consideration this evening or in future evenings on chartering of a committee, I'd like to share some facts with you about I've gained over the years with my responsibility to help in the design and construction of the rail trail. First, the proposal has been brought to you by the Economic Development Council. I'm pleased that the council has done this, that they see a restored bridge as offering economic benefits to the town. But that concept is not entirely new. Through my participation with the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission, I've managed to have the entire trail noted in a federal program called a Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, or CEDS, CEDS. And this is a program, federal level program run by the Economic Development Agency. The strategy document I made reference to covers the region of Concord down through Manchester. And it's been approved by both the Central and the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commissions. The whole purpose of having a project listed in the CEDS strategy document is to gain access to the Economic Development Agency funding. So for Gulfstown, the rail trail is listed in this federal strategy document. Also, and just for side interest, also listed in this document is the benefits of bringing a natural gas line into the village. That's an economic benefit. Your planning officer has a copy of that CEDS document. Well, the whole point is that a recreational and transportation corridor, such as the rail trail, it does offer economic benefits to the community. And your Economic Development Council is correct in their recommendation before you. My second point, I like to address what you've just been discussing, the proposed membership in the committee. The bridge, in the documents you've been looking at so far, doesn't even mention that rail trail. In reality, that bridge would be viewed by the public as an extension of the rail trail. The bridge, should it really be built, would, I assume, would be a responsibility of the Park and Rec Department. So while I agree with your position in the read-ahead packet that department heads should only serve on an on-call basis, my recommendation to you is that a member of the Park and Rec Commission should serve on this ad hoc committee. solely because the viability of a bridge, it must include long-term use, long-term maintenance, and therefore, if it's a responsibility of the Park Commission, the Park Commission ought to have a vote on this ad hoc committee.
Yeah, I agree to that.
My,
Makes sense.
my third point I offer for the board is a detailed graphic that's on the wall, and you all have personal copies, indicating key dimensions of the granite abutments of that former wooden covered bridge used by the Boston and Maine Railroad, which unfortunately was burnt in 1976. The abutment dimensions I show on the graphic, they were obtained by simple tape measurement. Nevertheless, they are sufficiently accurate for a conceptual study. If the bridge were truly built, some design and consulting firm would undoubtedly do their own more accurate measurements. I am proud of one measurement on that chart. It shows 130.5 feet. It's on the left side of the whole structure, and that's the length of the lattice trestle on either side of the former bridge. And I measured that at 130.5 feet. So a couple years after I did those measurements, I had an opportunity to view the design specifications of the actual bridge that are held in the Boston and Maine archives. And I was pleased to see that the trusses were specified on those design sheets at 130 feet, 6 inches, and 1/8. So I was only off by 1/8 of an inch.
Wow.
As a retired civil engineer, I could offer some rough concepts on how a bridge could be constructed, but that's best left to active professionals when the time comes. Nevertheless, my bottom line recommendation is that the existing abutments, and specifically the area between the abutments, which is, I'm referring to the areas here between the abutments, have great utility for a future abutment of a modern bridge. And the important thing is that having the soundness of those abutments, the granite abutments already there, would greatly lower the cost of any future bridge construction.
Yeah, I would expect one of the first things that we would do would be have an engineering analysis done of those abutments to determine what load carrying capacity they have.
They're surprisingly sound, but a modern bridge could actually have a modern abutments, a bridge seat further back. Essentially, that was also done at the Singer Bridge in Manchester. My fourth and final point. You'll note on my graphic that the north abutment, the one that's closest to the intersection of Mill and Main Street, is private land. It's owned by the Gulfstown Rotary Club Park Charitable Trust Incorporated. Their deed, most recent copy is 2017, has modern, precise descriptions of their small parcels. So I've given you a second graphic that overlays their parcel on top of how that intersection appears at Mill and Main. While the parcel is relatively small at 1,124 square feet, the important fact is they own the abutments. The club, we all know that the Rotary Club does maintain the entire area on that intersection, and that includes the town land, which is on the left and right, and also the front of their small parcel. So I have two recommendations because of this land ownership issue. First is perhaps you should consider the landowner as a member of the ad hoc committee. Because I've served on the board, there may be some legal issues that you want to consider when doing so, but I would probably suspect that landowner would be attending these public meetings. Anyways, the second point, because of the land ownership, I recommend that the select board in chartering this committee, that you, in the whole chartering process, that you acknowledge that the committee will probably come back before you with recommendations on either easements, buying land, or swapping land, and you should acknowledge that you will probably be facing those decisions, and you should be letting the ad hoc committee know that you're willing to address those issues and not dismiss them. There's also perhaps issues concerning waiver of liability, because if the bridge is emptying into private sidewalks before they get to public sidewalks. So anyways, I thank the board for hearing my concerns relative to chartering an ad hoc committee to study the feasibility of a pedestrian bridge. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave, I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
So I've heard some good things. Thank you, David, that's good information.
Did you want to work with Derek again on?
Yeah, I'm not redoing the draft.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can do that then.
Yeah, we'll work on that.
Okay.
We got
Sounds good.
put some meat, some meat on the bones anyway, so.
I don't
We'll be in
think-
touch.
I'm not hearing anybody say they're against doing it, I mean,
Well, it's no question it's gonna be a big project, and it's gonna require input from a lot of different people. David has identified a few more, rightfully so, the Rotary Club and others, I mean, so, we'll take that information into consideration when we redraft the charter. Any other comments from the board on this? All right, thank you. All right, where are we? I think that was it, wasn't it?
an action made.
Oh, yeah, action matrix, of course. Yeah. There it is. Okay, the action matrix is tab 9C. First ones were the changes to personnel plan and communication strategy. Are you still working on those?
Yeah, we don't have any recommendations. We did create a repository, so hopefully all the members received the link to the Dropbox that has all the employee policies that we started uploading. We did that 2 weeks ago, so we do have those online for you to start looking. Then town hall staff will start bringing recommendations forward to the board.
Good. And then we'll roll that into our goals as well, so
Yep.
make sure we're consistent across that. Let's see, grants.
So I propose that this is the State Council of the Arts Moose Plate Grant for the curtain restoration.
Yeah.
I propose we take this off the action matrix for the time being. We're working with the State Council of the Arts to move this forward to fiscal year '21 for the state. All indications are that they have no problem with that, and we're just waiting for the final approval on that. So the work would actually be done in June of 2021. Whereas it was planned for June of this year.
Okay. Thank you. And then on the vehicles and equipment, we had 3 pieces of equipment. All 3 are scheduled back today.
Yeah, they were all
They're all
scheduled to
back?
be back today.
Are they back?
I did not confirm with that. I will check on that, and I can email members on
Okay.
that.
All righty. Is there anything else on the matrix that folks want to add or take off or make recommendations on?
And I did include a copy of your 2020 goals, just with
Yeah.
an update of where things stand as we've been working through those
Yeah,
things.
thank you. All right, so we have a non-public, is that correct?
I have a public comment.
Oh, yep, our second public comment period. Is anybody here now who'd like to make a comment to the board? Now would be your opportunity. This is the second public comment period for this meeting. Anyone on the
No, there's
phone?
no one on the telephone.
No one present, no one on the phone, so,
Make a motion, we go into non-public under RSA 91-A:3, 2B hiring.
thank you. A motion made by Peter,
Second?
second by Kelly. Do a roll call, I vote yes.
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 Okay, so the motion passes. We are going into non-public. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Appreciate you taking an interest in our meetings, and it's good to be back in person. We're going to go into non-public session now, so have a good evening. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay sane.
Staying here, going to the other one.
Thank you.